What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you my entire setup for my rebuilds and how I'm going to play my franchise modes for now and probably for the considerable future here in Madden 19. Now, when I first started the Toronto Huskies, I kind of gave you guys the base sliders that I'm going to be using. They're Mat 10s, custom gameplay sliders, and I was still working on my own XP sliders to get something right. Now I feel like Mat 10 sliders are on Operation Sports. I think you can download them, not on Xbox, unfortunately, but I think they're both on PC and PS4. Or you could just, just pause the video and copy down the numbers that you're going to see. It works both on All-Pro and All-Madden. I still find that they're not optimized, if you will, for All-Madden, because I usually am an All-Madden player. But my E-Wiener doesn't have to be as big right now until something good comes out, because it's pretty much frustrating. It's unrealistic to play all Madden right now. It's just your team sucks and the other team's just unbelievably unrealistic. So I still recommend playing on All Pro with the adjusted difficulty sliders, and I'll show you guys what those are. I think they're already up to like the 14th version. So there's a whole team of guys making these sliders as good as possible. And then I will debut my personal XP sliders. They're my own opinion. They're what I found to be good throughout my rebuild. So first up, we're going to start here in the league settings. Now you can go All Pro, All Madden. Doesn't really matter, whatever suits your fancy. All Madden is still kind of cheesy. I suggest All Pro for the time being, but I have played All Madden sometimes. Sometimes games are good, sometimes games are good as in, like, yes, I throw interceptions, yes, I get forced fumbles, yes, I lose. But I still find that difficulty on All Pro with these sliders suits myself pretty well in my play style, and I'm enjoying playing it right now. Game speed normal, leagues, you want your style to be simulation. I have right now, a big thing right now though in the slider testing community is to go to arcade. That's something that may have to come in a future video, but right now keep it on simulation. All these things here, this is just from my rebuilds when I set it up. I always make relocation disabled because sometimes you'll see, like, for example, I've seen the Raiders relocate a couple times. They'll go to Vegas, then they'll go to like London or something. I usually just like to turn that off. I always have injuries and pre-existing injuries off in my rebuilds. However, in my Huskies franchise, I always turn pre-existing off because I don't really want to deal with that. But I always have injuries on, which adds the importance to the threshold that you set on your injury settings. Quarter length for my rebuilds is always going to be 6 minutes, just because, it is what it is. We do with the sim. When we actually play my games, I play on 9 minutes with 20-second runoff. Other people like less runoff, 15 if you want, but just for my rebuilds, it stays at 6. For these, you could do whatever you want. I usually like having my scouting players on manual, as you can see in the Huskies, but for rebuilds, we usually do stick on manual too. But auto's never wrong, man. It's just time consuming, and sometimes you just want to get everything scouted. Weekly trainings usually on audio. I mean, this stuff doesn't really matter for you guys. So yeah, that is the beginning of the league settings. Then we're gonna go into the team settings. Now, the team settings, when you go to game options, this is where pretty much the only thing that really matters is have defensive ball hawk on. Now, usually I have a lot of these things off because I like to just, get the full immersion. From Mat 10 sliders, he says have defensive ball hawk on to help you with your interceptions, because the interceptions are kind of low, I guess he found out with his sliders, so check that out. Then we're going to the gameplay slider. So this is what we're working with here. This is player skill versus QB skill. Both are 50 for QB accuracy. Player skill pass blocking is at 48. It's 10 for the computer. Now, this is probably the only spot of these entire sliders that I'm not so sure yet, because I use the D-line. If I'm going to keep it at 10, I might bump it up and gradually bump it up by 5. You'll see that in the Huskies rebuild. If I start getting like a bunch of sacks out of the blue, start getting 5, 6, 7, 8 sacks a game, we might adjust it. But this is what he's come up with. His reasoning for it to only be 10 is just it's basically to try to combat the insta-shedding. You want the insta-shedding to be better, and sometimes I can say for sure, I've seen it a lot of times, where like no matter what I do, no matter what the offensive lineman I'm going up against, I cannot block. I cannot break his block. I'm just constantly just spinning. I'm constantly getting stuck, getting held. So that's the only one that I think is kind of suspect. You may want to fine-tune that to your own play style. We have wide receiver catching, 45 for user and 45 for computer. Run blocking is 75 for computer. That's pretty much one of the biggest takeaways from the computer game style, if you will, when you play them, is that they cannot run the ball. So keep that up at 75. And for us, I have it at 50. Fumbles at 50 for both. Pass reaction time, we have that at 80 for players, and we have it at 65 for computer. Now, the reason why this is at 80 is, we need to figure out how to compensate for the ball. Like I said, the biggest thing right now is dropped interceptions. That's one of the biggest killers in gameplay. When you have a clear pick, You could have a great corner. You could have, like, you know, I've seen it in the Huskies where I have Micah Hyde. He's a 93. I've seen multiple times we'll drop 3 or 4 picks in a game. Sometimes we'll get one if it's like a wide open interception. So having ball hawk and 80% pass defense reaction time definitely helps out. And the reason why it is lower here on the computer is because super linebackers have been a thing. If you've watched any of my streams lately, I found, like, just the last couple days streaming on Twitch, and we'll plug it at twitch.com/PapaXC4, just got promoted to Twitch affiliate, is super linebackers. Just like really weird animations for linebackers making interceptions. Though 65 is a good spot to have that, plus 35 for computer interceptions and 38 for player. Pass coverage is 40 for both, and tackling is at 38. Here are the special teams. You know, I think the special teams has been actually pretty fair this year, where I've maybe actually struggled a little bit more kicking. This season, I am a monster at punting. Maybe I have to change my moniker from the best field goal kicker on YouTube to the best punter. We have injuries at 13. I was previously running it on 15. Didn't experience anything really outside of the Dallas Goedert injury in the Huskies, but 13. We're all 13. Everyone wants injuries, but they always want less injuries. Fatigues at 49. Speed thresholds at 10. I was running it at 35. I thought it was all right, but 10 seems to be the number that the slaughter community is kind of, you know, decide that's where it should be. But it is always one of those things, very much like where we have the pass blocking lower. Tweak it to your play style. You can gradually go up if you find it a little too easy. It's just a starting point. And then for penalties, it's all default. Everything is 50. Make every single thing 50. That was pretty much the most surprising thing when I was actually looking into Matt 10 sliders, was he was adjusting the penalties to kind of deal with the insta sheds and stuff like that. But I guess he basically settled on 50. So there you go. There's that. Maybe pause it, get these sliders out. And as always, guys, when you're playing with these sliders, I want feedback too. I mean, the Operation Sports, it's a team of guys that do sliders every single year. This Matt 10 guy does sliders for a lot of games. Like, he's super into sliders. He's like the C4 realistic rebuilds of sliders, so I trust his opinion on this. And he had a bunch of different, you know, guys that are also slider enthusiasts working on these ones. But I still want your guys' feedback. If you find anything from this set of sliders that you think should be changed, or you found out worked out for you guys, don't be afraid to join the Discord. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Reply in the comments. So now this is my work, my XP sliders. Now these are the sliders that I have been using for the rebuild so far, and I have justification and some proof that I will show you. First up, minimum, I started at 150 in it for every single one outside of offensive lineman, because everyone knows offensive lineman almost every year has to be 200 plus. And I worked my way up, I worked my way down. Quarterbacks 155, I feel like that's good growth. Halfbacks 65. Tight ends I found do not develop particularly well, regardless of depth trait. So 200 is pretty much, you got beef with the tight ends a little bit. Wide receivers are, without a doubt, I would say the quickest growing position for me, for whatever reason. Actually, I'd say wide receivers and strong safeties. I know, because strong safeties sometimes get put at that money backer spot. They get a lot of tackles, which helps out their development. But strong safeties and wide receivers have definitely been the easiest spots to grow. That's why I have them as the lowest settings. Offensive linemen, we got a couple varying scores here. 215 for tackles, 230 for guards, 250 for centers. And I'm still getting, you might, if you have a great season and you have at least quick dev, you might get 3 skill points for an offensive lineman with these settings. I feel like that's fair, man. And defensively, I would say if there's one thing about these sliders that I still might tweak a little bit, it is the defensive side of things. I feel like the linebackers and secondary are pretty good, but I haven't found variables for the defensive line that I'm really happy with. If you guys have suggestions what you guys are using for your DNs and D tackles in terms of development, feel free to let me know. And then we got both 250 here for special teams, and that's still kind of harsh too, because I like, in a 5-year rebuild, I might get 3, 4, 5 skill points total. So it's like that averages out with 250 to like 1 skill point a year. But you might be looking at this and like, you know, base overall, if you just do default, I'm pretty sure it's 100, right? It's like 100 every single one. Why are they so high? Why are they double? Why are they triple? Well, this year, for me, one of the biggest disappointments in franchise mode is the regression. I think the regression is far too severe than what it should be. I've seen, you know, referring to the Baltimore Ravens rebuild. Most of you guys have watched that. Eric Weddle was our best player on the defense. Had the most tackles, had the most picks. He was an 85. And then as soon as the offseason hit, he went down to a 78, 79. Like 5, 6, 7 point regressions we're seeing as soon as players get up to that 31, 32. Adrian Peterson career mode. We were runner-up for the MVP. He was an 84. Next season, 77. Like, the drop-off is far too drastic, and the only way to compensate the really, really bad regression is you need your players to progress more. You need them to progress more during their prime so that when they get down to that regression period, it's not that bad of a hit. And here's something that you can see here with Roquan Smith. Now, not every player is going to be a 99, but Roquan Smith hit 99 fairly early, and you can just bank these skill points. So, like, Roquan Smith, for whatever reason, when he's 31, 32, we can still assume he's playing at a very high level. He's going to be in Defensive Player of the Year candidacy, but he'll hit that 5, 6, 7. There's a chance that Roquan Smith, going from 31 to 32, could win NFC Defensive Player of the Year, right? And then next season, he's down to a 92. You're like, what? What? He's still the best defender in the league. So you will have all these skill points banked because of those XP sliders. So you can make that 92, maybe say 97 or 98, which is more realistic. If a guy goes from 31 to 32, I think you could see a 1 to 2 point regression regardless of their stats. But the 5, 6, 7 that we have been seeing this year is just far too crazy for me. I would say the only negative of these XP sliders is your superstar players are still going to be very, very cheesy. Now I'm just showing you guys the tail end of the Bears rebuild. We had this guy, this man, Markel Wilson, who was a superstar right out of college. This is year 1. This is going into year 2. He's already 99. He was an 82 base superstar player. He went from 82 to 92 in 1 season in his rookie year. You might be thinking, wow, C4, that is absolutely crazy. But is it really? Look at Marshawn Lattimore with the Saints. Marshawn Lattimore started out with like a 78 base, and by season's end, he was in the 90s. If you have an exceptional season and you're an exceptionally talented player, you are going to grow that way. So it may be quicker than some people would expect, especially year 2. Like, maybe his production wasn't, I mean, he was getting me, what, 5, 6 picks a year. So, I mean, that was upper echelon, especially for a rookie. But I will just say some people may find the superstar dev players, it's a lot better with the quick and just star. But the superstar dev players may progress quicker than you may like. And if that's the case, you definitely can tweak the sliders down. But that's probably the only thing I think people can nitpick with this. Other than that, man, they need to be high to combat the really, really bad regression rate. Now, I'll say right now, regression sliders are on the top, if not top 3, my wish list for Madden 20, because it's not feeling good for me right now this year. So hopefully these sliders, the gameplay sliders, my rebuild sliders, work out for you guys. As always, if you're testing them out, you have any feedback, let me know via the comment section, Twitter, Discord, anything in between. I hope this video helped you guys out. If it did and you're brand new, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button. Give me feedback. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.